Thank you very much, David. Well, that was great. Now it's time for Q&A. So I'd like to invite our presenters up to the table and get your microphones on. And at this time, I think it's a good time to show the video of the Connecticut subsection that we have two-way streaming via Polycom. Hey, everybody. All right. What togetherness. This is courtesy of HB Communications and in North Haven, Connecticut. And we're just about ready for Q&A. I'll need a couple of volunteers. Yeah, just to make sure that you're paying attention.
Which toe did Mark Schubin have his Band-Aid on day 2?
So I need a couple of volunteers to thank you, Ed, and thank you, Bruce, with the portable microphone. When I invite you to speak, the rule is one question per customer. And please state clearly your name and your company. So who would like to be first?
Wait for the microphone to get to you before you start talking.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Wait for the microphone before you talk.
Going up.
We have a customer here, and it's coming. Here is our first question.
Thank you. Chris Lasinik from Audiovisual Preservation Solutions. And I was curious, a couple of mentions about LTO and the use of LTO. So I've heard lots of conflicting reports about interoperability and interchange issues with LTFS, and I was wondering if you could speak to that at all.
Yes, there are lots of conflicting reports. One of the things that I do besides reporting on stuff, I'm the engineer in charge of the Metropolitan Opera's media department. And we're looking at changing to file-based workflow, and we want to do archiving. And I've been looking into just about every archiving system there is. And I have not gotten a straight story or an agreed story from many people on LTO and LTFS. There are some people who say it's absolutely wonderful. Phil Squires from Sony Pictures Entertainment said that something crashed on him and he had to use an LTO system and he recovered everything fine. Other people have horror stories. So, I don't know. The thing I'm most interested in is the RDX stuff, and I came to NAB hoping that I could discuss RDX, and I could not find a single company of the many suppliers of RDX who had anything.
Yeah, I do a lot of shooting for a we make films on artists and architects. I've been shooting for 15 years this series, and we have massive archiving needs. And for about 3 years, I've been researching everything relentlessly for exactly the same reasons you're going. And there is no silver bullet here. And in fact, Mark is right. You can't get really clear answers. I've requested from Sony the Blu-ray-based cassette with the 12 discs in it, and I'm going to have a sort of pre-production model of that, and I'm going to be testing that in the field, as it were, just to see whether that works. I understand the limited capacity and the limited speeds. It does have, they claim a 50-year archival life, the Blu-ray discs.
Yeah, I would believe that. And capacity, I don't think is a problem. It's 1.5 terabytes already. But I/O could be a problem if you wanted to do something beyond compressed video.
Okay, yes.
Matthew Brunasoltz from Inside Media. That 200-inch glasses-free 3D system, what was it? NCIT?
NICT, N-I-C-T.
NIT site. I'm familiar. Are you familiar with the Holographica system? And do you know if they, have similar technology to them, or do you know how the thing works?
Yeah, the NICT system is about as simple as can be imagined. There's 200 projectors that are making 200 views. There's a lens in front of the screen. The screen is a diffusing screen, and so wherever you are, you're looking at a particular projector's views, and different projectors with your two eyes, which is why it's 3D. So ultra simple. NICT also had a holographic system that was true holography. It was laser reconstruction of holographic image. But as I say, the hologram was about the size of my pinky nail and has not become a commercial product yet, let us say.
Yeah. Well, the holographic system, in fact, is not holographic, regardless of what they call
Right, no,
themselves.
NICT is true holographic.
Yeah, okay.
For the record, the 200 projectors are JVCs.
Or what?
JVC.
And you get a good quantity discount.
I'm not as concerned about the number of projectors as other people are. You can buy projectors now for $300. So, you know, even with 200 projectors, you're not talking that much money. It's not a home system, but for a venue or something, the bigger issue is creating the images. And currently, it's all computer graphics. Conceivably, you could do something with some number of live cameras, maybe interpolating stuff in between.
I keep wondering about the issues of synchronizing color and contrast and all the rest in those 200
Yeah,
projectors.
but there's so many projector matching systems already.
Really?
Yeah.
Automatic enough?
Yeah.
And epoxy on the floor. You just don't move around, and those two projectors are just great.
All right, thank you very much. We have another question here. Doug?
Doug Shear from DIS Consulting. I was on the phone today with Fraunhofer in Germany, Dr. Fossel, I don't know, Siegfried Fossel. And the subject was entirely 4K. And I drew the comparison to the earlier days of HD development, all the missing links, all the different things that, in order to have the workflow really work, the things that seem to be missing today. He felt maybe a year and a half to 2 years out, the workflow would have most of the components in it, that it would need to be more seamless than it is today, less experimental. And the other thing that we got into was talking about the fact that with the early adopters of digital cinema, in terms of the gear that they had to invest, which was 2K, that the earliest adopters are now approaching, say, 5 years. And according to Fossil, the logical upgrading point would be something like 7 years. So it seems to him, and also seems to me, that that plays in perfectly to when 4K projection will be ready for sort of broad adoption in cinemas. That it'll be more acceptable in the sense that it was never intended to last, say, more than an average of 7 years, and that you would then upgrade, say, the projector and also possibly upgrade the encoder and some of the other components. That's just my feedback from talking to him today.
Did he say anything about archiving 4K? Because if you think archiving 2K or HD is problematic, wait till you try to archive 4K.
Well, I mean, he's definitely agreeing that there
I'm
are
saying
so
this
many.
to the industry
Oh, yeah.
at large.
Right, but he's certainly agreeing that there's so many sort of missing links in the workflow today, even though there are a lot of interesting tools, and you showed many of them, tonight.
I know of an example of a producer on the West Coast who's shooting a TNT television series, and they're shooting 4K. And they're editing in 4K. They're doing all their post-production in-house. And believe it or not, it's Final Cut Pro 10. They're not using any outside post houses, which I think is kind of a moment in time.
Yes, we have another question. Thank you, Doug.
everything?
Yeah, thank
Yeah. I don't know how they're storing it, though.
you. Jim Kloddick, Picture Radio. On that JVC 650, did you see the Wi-Fi results of that camera?
No.
Did they demo it all?
They were demoing it, and there were people from news stations who said they saw it and they were very happy with it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And same with the LTE stuff. There was some earlier showings of the news gathering cameras that used the commercial version of LTE that's not generally available to the public, where you get multi-megabit throughput guaranteed. You can shoot some awesome stuff that way. Instead of those ganged together bunch of small radios and stuff, the commercial version of LTE is actually quite stunning for news gathering.
Can I ask a second question?
Wait for the mic.
Okay, since we have some time, yes.
Yeah, the two companies were showing that thing of using the mobile sites to send HD. What'd you guys think of that?
Well, it's more than two companies, and last year there were maybe 20 companies that were showing it. So that to me was old hat. But let me go back to the JVC camera a little bit and point out that the Wi-Fi can be used for the proxy. So you're shooting, you're recording on a card of some sort. Meanwhile, the proxy is going back Wi-Fi to the station. The station is doing editing based on the proxy, and then you show up and it's like going from offline to online. You just conform your real card to what they were doing already.
First, hello, Connecticut. Do you have any questions by any chance?
Yes. We have a couple.
Okay, please state your name and company.
All right, Wes Simpson with Telecom Product Consulting. Couple new standards that came out this year, both very new, the DASH streaming format and the very high quality compression successor, H.265, whatever they're going to call it. Did you see any evidence of that at NAB, or did you hear anybody talking about what their plans are for those things?
Well, coming
NTT was showing HEVC coding. There was another company that was showing actually there were several companies that were showing HEVC.
Moto Harmonic,
Yeah.
at Ericsson. But coming out, I think, is the question, because I don't think the HEVC standard, it still has several months of publication cycle. People, as usual, are jumping the gun and speculating the silicon and all that sort of stuff. But as I mentioned, adoption in consumer products is certainly sketchy, because system on a chip is the way everyone's going now, and that takes a while. But also the IP, still, I don't know that that's completely clean.
What about DASH streaming?
I mean, it's a variant of HLS, which is the de facto standard for a lot of stuff now. I mean, it's certainly got a pedigree of a lot of people behind it, and it certainly would likely succeed. You just got to dethrone Apple first.
All right, is there another person in Connecticut that has a question?
We have two more from up here.
Yes, Mark Ward from New Haven. For those drones, what manufacturers make those things?
Lockheed Martin was showing the drones, the helicopters. Boy, there were probably 25 companies showing them.
Okay. I have a follow-up to that. This is Brian Koblars, Chair of SMPTE, Connecticut. Back in 2007, the FAA came up with some regulations that they began enforcing last fall, which means that you cannot do any commercial photography from an unmanned aerial vehicle. It is you can still, if you're law enforcement or anybody else, but commercial use is off the table from 0 all the way up in elevation. Recently, the funding was put in place where the FAA is required to come up with regulations. Their target date is 2015. Did any of the manufacturers of the drones or UAVs end up letting people know that you can't use them for a couple of years?
Not in big type.
I think it was in that little red disclosure somewhere down there about having bad thoughts.
All right, yes, Mark, you're next.
Okay, I asked this question last year also, but I'm going to ask each of the panelists, what is the most significant thing that you saw at NAB?
I'd seen it before, but I just have to say I'm in love with that Sony HTC 2000, 2500, 2550 camera system. It is so amazingly better than anything that came before, and it's CCD, and it's quiet, and there's stuff I haven't even talked about in the processing. It's just great, and it's wonderful to see that technology continue.
That's really hard to say. I know the Sony FS700 very well, And for a camera to have those high frame rates, and the high frame rates are for slow-mo, with instant playback at that price point with a 4K sensor, and it will have 4K output, this is a new epic, this is a new era. The game has changed. I've said, and be perfectly happy to demonstrate this, I've said that you can take, since Sony, for one, happens to make a whole range of Super 35 sensor cameras, from the FS100 all the way up to the F65, you could put the same lens, same first-rate lens, Master Prime, whichever, on each one of those cameras, even though some record AVC HD and some record log, shoot certain things, a face under controlled lighting, and I would bet that most of the people in this room couldn't tell the difference. We're in a really interesting time right now, and I'm a person who uses these cameras. So that FS700, I think, is one of the most striking things I saw.
And the more, I wouldn't say mundane side, but since I'm the chair of the ad hoc group, SMPTE 2052, the new required by law FCC/broadband IP captioning format, there were some vendors there, unsung heroes, as it were, that are stepping up to the fact that the FCC rule has to be implemented in 6 months. So on October 1st, you're going to see a lot of SMPTE 2052 out there. There were some products to actually clean up one of the more difficult tasks in all workflows, which is cleaning up the captioning, conforming it to edits that were done unknown to the system, and going out and figuring out where the edits were and conforming the captions, which is not trivial. A lot of processing on the captioning side, and some Softel stuff will look very promising in terms of using audio clues to synchronize the captions and things like that. I don't know if Louis is still here, but my CBS days, the unsung things that people always forgot about were the VBI and intercoms. And VBI has now got an FCC rule behind it that is a major pain. Forget the COM Act, it's a major pain to make captions in a new format for the internet.
Actually, I want to add something. What we didn't mention was that FS700 shoots full HD up to 240 frames a second, but it shoots a reduced vertical resolution version of HD up to 480 frames, and it's pretty darn good. There's a video on Vimeo that Andrew Young did, where he's filming, that's my antique term, he's filming a dog coming towards him. The dog is chasing a ball. He has an autofocus lens on that camera using phase detection, PHASE phase detection. It's technology borrowed from the Sony Alpha cameras. It uses a pellicle, a thinly silvered mirror that bleeds off about 30% of the light, and uses it to create a second image with which to align with the primary image to determine before, distance to the subject that the camera's trying to focus. It's not based on contrast detection or anything like that. And this camera tracked that dog running towards him and kept that dog in perfect focus at 480 frames a second. This is extraordinary stuff. We're living in extraordinary times, but this is extraordinary stuff. And this is an under $10,000 camera. It will also go up to 960 frames, but it's so degraded at that point that I don't think many people would use it. But that's extraordinary. I'm just stunned by all of this.
Yes, Ed.
Yes, I'm Ed Schuler. I believe I should say that I work for SMPTE. At least that's what my wife thinks.
Do the checks clear?
But I have a comment again on frame rate, because I just wanted to follow up on what David Leitner just said. When the New York section introduced the IMAX concept at the Omnimax on 68th Street, we had an attendance of 427 persons from the New York section attending. And one of the things that we learned when the three people from Kodak and from IMAX talked about the system, and which was, of course, a large diameter film system at a higher frame rate, is that they explained that that was necessary for such a large screen to eliminate the aberration that's caused by horizontal movement, which we call judder. And I can see that with large format sensors and films and so on, that this is a definite advantage. But then Hugh Heinsohn, and this is about 20 years ago when Bill Tapazio was chairman, we had a meeting at Bell, and Hugh Heinsohn gave a paper about what do film theater owners and chains want to increase their box office revenue. So he went through the whole litany of, silent film to sound in 1927 and going up into 1932, and then the color in the 1936 and 37, and then the first really stereophonic sound, which was Fantasia. But then when I worked for Fox, we went with the Robe, and we had four-track stereo sound. And then he went on, and he said what he finally found out was none of these really remarkably increased the attendance at theaters
Popcorn.
because of its particular technology. The only thing that he does know is that stadium seating did, where you get fruit and drinks and so on, which is completely unrelated. Now, with regard to the high frame rate, I realize that it certainly is going to be coming, especially with these large formats. But it's the story that brings in the audience. That's my comment.
Don't confuse the capture rate with the playback rate.
No,
Because
I'm
we're
not.
talking about high capture rates, which would play back a slow motion at 24 frames or at 30 frames. And I have to say, as a prediction, that in 1 year, given the popularity, I know this camera's going to explode in popularity. It's going to become a cliche. It's going to be so easy to shoot slow-mo. You're going to see it everywhere. You're going to be sick of it.
Right.
But I would like to disagree with David a tiny bit. They are talking about high frame rate for presentation. The Hobbit will be released at 48 frames per second. The EBU and the BBC have been testing video up to 300 frames per second for viewing, not for slow-mo. And they found that up to 150 frames per second, there was a perceptual difference. You could notice the sharpness increase watching at that speed.
Well, I also would like to say that this is not a new phenomenon as far as frame rate is concerned, because about 40 years ago in the SMPTE, it was so important that we had a vice president for high-speed instrumentation. You would probably remember the name of the guy, but it was so important. It was a big part of our journal where we were shooting, images at 2,000 frames per second and so on. I don't know what's happened to that in SMPTE, but we no longer have a vice president for high-speed instrumentation.
There's a bunch of stuff on the internet already of people shooting water balloons exploding and things like that. And it's pretty impressive. There's a piece I did, it's about 10 minutes long on Vimeo, that was shown at NAB. And I wasn't interested in that. I was interested in shooting people because I don't care about car chases and explosions and all of that sort of thing. I really care about people. I shoot a lot of documentaries. So what I did is I went on New York's High Line, and I shot people on the High Line on a windy, sunny day with their hair blowing in the wind. And I paid special attention to behavior, because when you shoot someone at 120 or 240 frames a second, it slows the moment down. Suddenly, it sort of reveals moments that you might not have noticed, or gestures that might have gone by too quickly for you to notice. It kind of unfolds behavior. It's really interesting. So if you go to Vimeo and put my name in and put the FS700, you'll see what I'm talking about. It is not at all about the gimmickry that we're going to all be sick of in 1 year. I see that coming a mile away. Because other cameras will attain this ability as well.
All right, two more questions. I'd like to wrap it up. Yes, over here.
Hi, my name is Jacqueline Anscombe. He wants me to stand. Okay. Hi, my name is Jacqueline Anscombe, and I am a senior at New York City College of Technology. I was invited here by my video professor, where I'm taking a class in digital video camera. And I feel very honored and privileged to be here among all you geniuses. I'm learning a lot. A lot of it's way over my head.
You should point out that video professor is trademarked by that guy on
Professor
late night TV.
Rioyo Terrell. Did I say it right? Oh, yeah. I had him for 2 semesters. Anyway, my question is about the student membership initiative thing you have going. He said only one, but 2 things. I'm going to put them together. What would be the expectations of a member, and also the opportunities for a student member?
Okay, I'll give you the answer.
Oh,
I'll
we
give you
defer
the
to the
answer.
distinguished donor.
Okay.
Because our
Money
distinguished
talks.
donor will answer the question for us, Mr. Bill Miller, present chairman of the New York section.
Yes, it's on, it's on, okay. All right. For student members, the expectation is, or at least my expectation is, that student membership is not terribly expensive. As I say, it's $35. I'll pick that up. What I expect you to do is to come to meetings, read the journal, which you'll get, learn, and ask questions. From my point of view, the only stupid question is the one you're afraid to ask. If you have a question, ask. One of the most rewarding things that I have found, and I think I would say that for any of the other gray beards and gray hairs in this room, is being able to mentor students, to be able to answer questions, to see people learn and grow. That's how a lot of us get the most joy out of giving back, is to see someone else learn and grow in the industry. So it's my hope that that we can set up a student chapter at your school. That we can get, we need 12 of you to do that, and you are fortunate in that you have a faculty member who is teaching this and who I hope will be willing to serve as the chapter advisor. But we're hoping to be able to get a student chapter going at your school. And at that point, in addition to our section meetings, you can hold your own chapter meetings, put your own programs together, and invite people who can handle, who can address topics that you want answered, that you want to discuss. That's how this works. We teach you, then you start teaching yourselves. Okay? You're welcome.
And I would like to add that Roberta Gorman down there has a membership application for student membership.
Yeah.
Right in her hand.
We can sign you up tonight. I'm not sure we have a big enough butterfly net to go chasing you, but you know, I'm not as fast as I used to be. But we can sign you up tonight.
We have time for one more very quick question. Connecticut, do you have anything else? Nothing? New York? Anybody else?
Scroll down. One quick comment from Connecticut, if I can.
Yes, quickly.
Yeah, this is just amplifying something that Mark was saying a little while ago. A lot of the high frame rate work is for archival purposes in the long run for high frame rate projection. If you look at what Doug Trumbull has been doing for years with ShowScan, that 65 millimeter film shot at 60 frames a second, designed to play back at 60 frames, which is 2.5 times the normal rate. It's a much smoother motion, and it's something that they're looking at downstream as being an archival way of capturing for the future. End of comment.
And be glad that the Thailand floods brought the hard drive industry back, because otherwise you'd be just like the tsunami problem with tape.
Okay. I really need to cut it off there because we need to get going. Sorry, you've had 2 questions already past the limit. So to finish up the meeting, I have one favor to ask all of you. If you could please do me a favor and fill out the survey, which you'll be getting by email tomorrow. That helps us greatly in determining future meetings, likes and dislikes and so on. That email will come to you from Eventbrite, which is how you registered for this event. So be on the lookout for that tomorrow morning, and please do fill out the survey. I'd like to, yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, we have a few people to thank.
Yes, we have a few people to thank. We have plaques for that, and Bill Miller, our section chair, will award those plaques as I give them out.
Okay, the way this is going to work, for those of you who haven't been through this before, is I call out your name, you come up here, I hand you your plaque, and then you stay here so we can get a group picture at the end. Okay? Jenny Montalbano is, I believe, not here tonight?
She's not here.
Not
She's
here?
with HBO, who
Yeah.
Jenny set
this is her
this
gig.
whole event up from the HBO logistics side of things. So we owe her a debt of gratitude.
Jenny, this one's for you. Okay? Next. Ted Morano. Ted, can you come out of the booth and come down here?
Sure you are.
Let me just put my stick away so you don't trip over it. Okay, Ted?
My pleasure.
Ted's the projectionist, which probably describes about a tenth of what he does here.
That's right.
But particularly considering the curveball we threw at you with the simulcast.
No, it's great.
Great.
Worked out okay.
It's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, where's the next ones? Okay. Craig Cuttner.
Uh-oh.
Stay there.
Had the mic off. Oh, I thought I took the mic off already.
Okay. David Leitner.
This is Ted, and this is my place.
The inimitable Mark Schubin. Brian? Well, Brian's.
No, they're still listening.
Yeah, Brian, we can't see you anymore, but we know you're listening. Here's your plaque. Okay. Okay. And we'll get that to you. Okay.
Press it up against the screen.
Oh, sorry, Dad. Yes, yes. No fingerprints.
Where'd he go? He's right here. He's signing over the table.
Okay. We tried.
Okay. Put that down somewhere. Yeah, put it on the podium. Okay. And this one's for HP Communications. Who knows if there's any Okay.
We'll send them the O, and they'll
Okay.
be right in the family.
Yes, that's right.
And finally, Tim? Excellent job with that. Thank you very much. Okay. See, that's the good part of this job. Okay, get my stick and get out of your way. Okay, whatever else you got.
And one final thing, Ted, if you could put the never mind.
No, Anthony's up there. What do you need?
That's okay. Let's keep it simple. You can skip that. Just a little plug for the SMPTE section. Go to SMPTENY.org to check out our website. That's updated frequently. And you can also find us on Twitter at SMPTENY.
Tomorrow we'll post the June event?
Yes, the June event will be posted tomorrow, so you can start to register for that as well.
Okay,
So-
there's one other thing.
Yes.
For those of you who, outside while you were having your meal beforehand, or your refreshments beforehand, you may have noticed that there was a lot of rather interesting pictures of New York City that were up there. Those were done by Mark Foreman. They're part of an upcoming book project he's got called New York from the Ground Up. Contact Mark directly if you want more information on it. It was his Kickstarter project. Okay, what raffle? Oops. Sorry. Okay, here's the goodie bag. No, this is the raffle bag, and this is the swag bag.
Sorry.
Okay.
Anthony,
So-
the switcher on the floor.
Okay. So, Roberta?
Yes, yes, yes.
Sorry, you have to pull the,
Oh, all right.
yeah. Okay, so you take this,
Okay.
I'll take this. Okay. First thing we're pulling for is, yes, insulated mug.
Charles Lamb.
Come get it.
And you think no one ever really wins these, you know?
Next one. And T-shirt, size large.
Nick DiLello. Oh, good shot.
Okay,
And
let's
what's
see what we
next?
got next. I won't throw this one. The Digital Video Essentials Professional Edition. This includes the HD images in press form.
Boon Xing Ning.
Boon Ching.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, what else do we have in there?
Okay, we have, ooh,
Ah,
the SMPTE coffee cup. Excuse me, the Digital Leader coffee cup.
there you go. Omar Oliveros.
Omar Oliveros. Do we have Omar Oliveros here? Because you must be present to win. Loser.
All right.
Okay. Okay.
Matthew Brennisholz.
Yeah. What is this?
Oh, that's
Blank paper.
blank paper.
Nobody wins the blank paper. Okay. One more Digital Video Essentials.
And the winner is Ed DeLauder.
Ed DeLauder. Thank you. Thank you. And last but not least, EG1 mouse pad.
Yay. Chuck Deal.
Chuck Deal. Did he leave?
Oh, it does. It's a schmutz.
But Chuck
Is there
left.
schmutz on it? Well, I'll replace it if there's schmutz.
Okay, we need to pull another one.
Okay.
Yeah, no, the flooge is there. It's missing most of the blue bar, but it does have the flooge.
All right.
Ohad Niv. Ohad. Is he here? I guess he left.
Okay.
Keep going. See, gotta be in it to win it. Okay. John Lednack. John Lednack? Man,
Whoa, what's going on here? John McKenna.
John McKenna. He's here.
Is that all
That's-
that's in there?
Um,
Yes, that's all
that's
that's in
what's
there.
in there.
All
We should
right.
go back.
Oh, thank you very
Okay.
much.
So that's it, folks, for the drawing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. Class dismissed.